Good afternoon. Good to see you all. I would like to take and get the group together, and here we are. Michael?
Yes, we are ready to start. Already.
Next item of business is the approval of the September 27th
Minutes.
I think I don't think we can make these. So why don't we move on?
Okay. And there's no speakers.
Okay. Naeem?
Yes, I do.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. I can just start the presentation. This month we have the agency presidents presenting their strategies to address underutilization, so I believe you would like to start with that. The agency presidents are here to present their strategies for underutilization. I believe you would like to start with those presentations. Mr. Garner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joyce Brown, can you give like a quick summary as to where we are as far as our data is concerned?
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. We have completed all of the workforce data for all the agencies and now able to do the utilization for the agencies, and it's presented in the book.
Great, and basically we are now meeting with HR. We're going to focus on creating strategies that's going to allow us to hire in a more inclusive manner, focusing on those areas in which we need to establish working relationships with outside groups. Correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay, great. Mike?
Good afternoon. I just want to indicate that on behalf of headquarters, I'm Michael Kalish, Director of Human Resources here at headquarters, and MTA HQ reaffirms its commitment to diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And this applies not only to gender and race-based classifications, but extends to veteran status, disability status, and membership in the LGBTQ community. Diversity enriches our workplace and fosters innovation, creativity, and cultural understanding. MTA HQ embraces diversity in all that it does, including but not limited to in its recruiting, hiring, and promotional decisions. DDCR's workplace data shared with Human Resources reflects that in 2017, headquarters hired 457 employees. 64% of these employees were minorities. With respect to our efforts in 2017 in connection with diversity efforts, in connection with hiring in the traditionally underutilized area, particularly with respect to women in information technology. I mentioned the last time that we got together, there was a wonderful job fair at the Transit Museum that focused on finding diverse candidates for the hard-to-fill IT positions. The job fair was a terrific collaborative effort among the management in the information technology area, the Transit Museum personnel, security personnel, as well as human resources personnel. And we were very pleased with the outcome of those efforts. Ultimately, in 2017, there were a total of 10 hard-to-fill positions that were filled as a result of that job fair, and 6 of those 10 were women. In addition, in 2017, as reflected on that slide, there were 2 important DDCR positions that were filled, one of which is the Assistant Deputy Chief Diversity Officer for EEO Compliance. Another exciting DDCR position that was filled was a brand new position that we discussed last time before it came into existence, but the Assistant Chief Diversity Officer for Title VI and Workforce Initiatives. Happy to say that that position was filled in December of 2017, and that's the position that was to work closely not only with human resources at headquarters, but at the human resources departments throughout all of the agencies, specifically to identify particular vacancies that reflect gender or ethnic-based underutilization, and to assist in creating creative recruitment plans to target any identified underutilizations. Other accomplishments in 2017 include ongoing recruitment efforts in the very diverse pool of military veterans. HQ participated in and organized multi-agency attendance at 11 separate military job fairs and outreach events. Across the entirety of the MTA headquarters and all of the agencies, there were 226 service members hired in 2017. Thanks, Naeem. The outreach efforts will continue in 2018 with a focus on women, minorities, the disabled population, the LGBTQ community, and veterans, which includes all of those groups. The incumbent in the newly created DDCR position that I mentioned has hit the ground running. At HQ and HR, we have regularly scheduled roundtable recruitment meetings where the recruiters discuss each and every vacancy and related hiring efforts associated with filling those vacancies. The incumbent in the new DDCR position has been invited to and has attended these meetings and will continue to do so throughout 2018. In addition, quarterly meetings with the DDCR will be coordinated to establish diversity talent acquisition plans based on workforce underutilization information that the DDCR, as Michael mentioned, will be developing. And these efforts in the first half of 2018 will include strengthening relationships with women and minorities in technology, which includes participating in a wide variety of online job fairs and related activities. Part of the diversity efforts in 2018 will also include MTA hosting an information session for nonprofit and diversity organizations to address MTA employment opportunities. Finally, other efforts in 2018 will or have already included additional military recruitment events, coordinating attendance for the New York City Mayor's Office for People with Disabilities Champions of Change Business Council, participating in Today's Girl, Tomorrow's Woman Symposium, and other events. The commitment to diversity and inclusion in the workplace will enthusiastically continue in 2018.
Thanks, Mike. Chief, you're up.
Good afternoon. Well, I just want to assure everyone that increasing diversity in the ranks is an important priority to the MTA Police Department, not only at the entry level, but throughout all levels of the police department. To that end, I've instructed my command staff to encourage all officers, particularly women and minorities, to take the promotional exams. The last one was February 2nd and February 3rd. These are exams to sergeant and lieutenant. Furthermore, I'm honored to announce that for the first time in the history of the MTA Police Department, an African American has attained the rank of Assistant Chief. That person is Assistant Chief Sean Montgomery, a 29-year veteran, highly regarded throughout the department. And of course, we're all very proud of the partnership between the MTA Police Department and the MTA Headquarters Human Resources and the Office of Diversity. 2017 was a good year. MTA Police Department hired 37 police officers in the January 2018 class. Of the 37, 13.5% identified as a female and 43% identified as a minority. We hired 38 police officers for the July 17 class. Of the 38 hired, 8% identified as a female, and 58% identified as a minority. And as I mentioned, we promoted 41 members of the department to supervisor and command staff ranks, from sergeant all the way through to assistant chief. Of the 41 promotions, 9.8% identified as a female and 39% identified as a minority. We hired 6 civilians in September of 2017, and of those 6 civilian positions, the MTA PD hired 5 minorities, including 5 females. In 2018, our mid-year initiatives include a plan to hire 20 to 25 police officers of diverse backgrounds in the second quarter of 2018. We also plan to administer a sergeant and lieutenant's promotional examination, which will result in a diverse pool of applicants in February of 18, with a focus on encouraging females and minorities to take the exam. Approximately 25 sergeants applied for the lieutenant's exam. Of the 25, 5 sergeants identified as minority. And approximately 225 police officers applied for this sergeant's examination. Of the 225, 29 are females, that's 12.8%, and 91 identified as a minority, 40.4%. So we're very encouraged with these statistics, and we pledge our continuation of the efforts in working with several different entities within and outside the agency to create the diversity.
Great, thanks, Chief. And your constant conversation with the Guardians is bearing fruit also as well.
It's a very fruitful collaboration that we have with the Guardians.
Great, thank you. Jano.
Good afternoon. Concerning the Office of the Chief Development Officer, which includes both MTACC and the Real Estate Department, my office of the Chief Development Officer is an evolving organization charged with building large infrastructure projects, but also responsible for key advertising and real estate functions. In all these areas, success hinges on retaining and attracting the very best staff from all walks of life and all backgrounds. To be an employer of choice, our goal is to build and leverage a diverse and inclusive workforce and workplace, ensuring that all employees listen to and respect different viewpoints and opinions, encouraging and developing leadership capabilities, and holding our employees accountable for meeting these objectives. Capital Construction is committed to improving minority, female, veteran, and disability representation in the workforce, and the same is true of our colleagues in real estate. 2017 end-of-year accomplishments. I'll just tick off those that are, I think, on the slide you see. We extended summer internships for 7 STEM college students, 6 minority and 3 female, in engineering and finance disciplines. We successfully collaborated with the Department of Diversity and Civil Rights on an agency-wide initiative to develop self-identification forms for applicants and employees with disabilities. Our managers developed a succession plan in order to retain diversity in the ranks of junior staff, and our organization partnered with other MTA agencies to share costs, resources, and best practices that strengthen recruitment strategies targeting females, minorities, and veterans. Our mid-year diversity initiatives, I would highlight a few. By the end of the second quarter, we intend to hire a director of EEO to ensure MTACC is making full efforts to retain, promote, and foster an inclusive environment for females, minorities, veterans, and individuals with disabilities. And I want to thank Mr. Garner, our leader in this area, for his support of our efforts to get that job, the authorization to fill that job, which has been open for a little while. By April 2018, our organization will submit its EEO program to the Department of Diversity and Civil Rights, and by June, we're going to develop and deliver staff training that focuses on diversity and unconscious bias. And again, having a director in this area, in our relatively small organization, is key to being able to accomplish those goals. And also, by June, we intend to hire 3 graduating interns, minority and female, in entry-level professional positions, further increasing the diversity of our workforce. So those are very quickly some of our objectives at the mid-year, and we look forward to working with you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Garner and the whole team in this area to effectuate them. Thank you.
And thank you. Let me commend your leadership, and also Dave Cannon, who drafted up a summary that I will be sharing with the president and the chairman, and Ronnie as well. On the second phase of Second Avenue Subway, there were 14 or 15 paid college interns, diverse group of college interns that were recruited from City College Engineering School, and they were working on Second Avenue Subway in the offices of DBEs. So thank you, Dave, and thank you, Jono.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
Chairman Malloy, committee members, and fellow colleagues, I appreciate this opportunity to speak with the committee today. MTA Bridges and Tunnels is the world leader in bridge and tunnel management and public service provider of open road tolling. And to that extent, my leadership team and I are firmly committed to achieving excellence through diversity, innovation, and organizational transformation. Our aim is to become best in class, against which other toll agencies can measure themselves by. It is from this platform that our team will expand its commitment to workforce diversity initiatives and the creation of robust business opportunities for minority, women, and veteran-owned business partners. The overall success that B&T has enjoyed is evident and realized through our recent transformation to open road tolling in record time, an extraordinary accomplishment that can only be accomplished by the diversity of its leaders, employees, and partnerships. B&T will continue to incorporate diversity goals into its mission and objectives by providing safe, efficient, and courteous service to its customers, creating a workplace environment that treats employees with dignity and respect, be vigilant stewards of revenue, and ensure that its leadership and workforce remain engaged, committed, and accountable for the safety and state of good repair of its bridges and tunnels. Key accomplishment in 2017. In 2017, B&T took a strategic and assertive approach to address workforce diversity and identified several initiatives to increase female and minority representation within the agency. At B&T, we not only acknowledged that diversity is key to our talent management success, but the importance of creating strategies to connect and create opportunities with our diverse business partners. I would like to take this opportunity to briefly walk you through and share a few thoughts of B&T's initiatives and outreach efforts in 2017. B&T successfully engaged in several minority women and veteran-owned business outreach events in the third and fourth quarter, which included New York State Minority Women Business Enterprise Forum, Circle of Sisters, Veterans in Economic Transition, the MTA DBE Opportunity Day held in conjunction with the FTA, the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials, and Transportation Diversity Council, and several other new firm orientations. B&T's outreach efforts have created numerous opportunities for design, build, construction contracts. Our contribution to MTA small business mentoring programs and discretionary architecture and engineering programs for 2017 included Tier 1 awards of $869,930,000 of Tier 2 awards of $1.9 million, and lastly, 14 discretionary architecture and engineering awards in the amount of $1.3 million. To date, B&T exceeded Tier 1 goals, which resulted in a delta of 120% and Tier 2 at 154% of the overall capital plan. With respect to our workforce, B&T elevated the issue of female underrepresentation and strategically targeted females in STEM-related fields. In fall of 2017, B&T's Enterprise Asset Management Program held a recruitment event in September to attract a substantial number of females within our workforce that had an interest in asset management, engineering, maintenance, and other fields. This resulted in a successful participation of 45 employees, 50% of which were women, in a one-day EAM training held on October 30th, 2017, which led to an increase of female and minority participation as leaders in reliability and asset management professionals. In the fourth quarter, B&T hired 5 management associates to full-time positions in engineering construction, of which 40% were females and minorities. 2018. I had the opportunity to present highlights of B&T's initiatives at the 2017 MTA Diversity Committee. As our agency continues with its workforce transition to open road tolling environment, B&T's leadership will continue its diverse initiatives, which include targeted recruitment of females in critical mid-level positions, the launch of a succession planning committee, and developing strategies with the results of B&T's Employee Diversity and Engagement Survey. To facilitate and guide B&T through this process, we welcome our newest member to the B&T Executive Staff and Human Resources Team, Vice President Patrick Smith. As Vice President, Patrick will provide strategic and tactical leadership and serve as strategic advisor to departments to help address the underutilization of females and minorities where they may exist within the workforce. As a member of the MTA family, I thank you again for this opportunity to share with you B&T's strategies for improving workforce diversity and business initiatives within our organization. Thank you.
And let me thank you for your leadership in a very, very short period of time. You have came in and really done great things. But also, I want to personally thank you for being the only agency that has exceeded our small business mentoring programs for this year. Thank you. And Kathy.
Good afternoon, everybody. Metro North is committed to increasing diversity in the workforce and maintaining a culture that embraces our differences. Metro North strives to achieve excellence while ensuring that we maintain an environment that acknowledges and celebrates the diversity of its employees and its customers. Our agency and our leadership support these values through implementation of our 5-year strategic plan, which identifies our people as our greatest resource and one of our key strategic priorities. Metro North Railroad also realizes that the diversity of people drives diversity of thought and improves business outcomes. Therefore, recognizing the expertise and capabilities of minority and women-owned business enterprises is part of our commitment to ensuring that we are performing business in a manner that is inclusive and that seeks to recognize the potential of businesses large and small. So just a few of our 2017 accomplishments. We are specifically very focused in terms of improving female representation in our workforce. We're currently only about 14% females. So to that end, in partnership with CUNY and Cornell Tech, Metro North hosted 3 female interns who participated in the Women in Technology and Entrepreneurship program to expose them to railroad technology. We participated in the annual New York State Minority and Women Business Enterprise Forum to network and develop business partnerships with Metro North. In September of last year, we participated in the Circle of Sisters event held at the Javits Center to promote employment opportunities for females. In 2017, we participated in a panel discussion led by the New York City Department of Education to look at the school electrical curriculum and see how it aligns with the railroad industry. And we've also been very focused, as the rest of the MTA has, in terms of improving our veterans' opportunities. We attended the Recruit Military Job Fair and CUNY Military Job Fair to provide informational sessions about job opportunities. Overall, we attended 14 such events over the course of 2017. 2018, our initiatives. We are going to be launching diversity initiatives to expand our diverse workforce through professional development, outreach, and employee engagement events. We already have and will continue our Women's Book Club. Metro North will continue its annual internship program, its associate engineer program, and we will also hold a skilled craft job fair to enhance our diverse workforce. We're particularly proud of our internship and associate engineer programs. We've had a tremendously diverse workforce in both of those programs, and look at both of those programs as key diversity initiatives. To increase veterans participation, we will continue our commitment to partnering with HQ and attending job fairs and outreach events to bring awareness of our many employment opportunities. Halmar, in conjunction with both DDCR and Metro North, is going to be hosting an SDVOB vendor outreach forum by June of this year. The intent of this forum is to identify sources for products we purchase frequently. This is intended to create a more competitive and diverse market of suppliers that we hope will also result in better pricing for Metro North. And then by June of this year, we will establish the first hiring goals for individuals with disabilities. Those are a few of our initiatives for 2018. Again, I thank Mike and I thank Chairman Floyd for their leadership in this very important area.
Great, thank you. Pat, you are up.
Good afternoon. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak about the Long Island Railroad's efforts to increase representation of women and minorities. Diversity is a key corporate strategy behind the way we do business. Long Island Railroad continually strives to build a diverse workforce and to ensure that all employees are given equal opportunity to maximize their potential and establish successful careers. We firmly believe that broadening the pool of talent results in more innovation, which in turn benefits our customers. The Long Island Railroad is committed to equal employment opportunity for all employees and applicants for Long Island Railroad employment. We make every effort to attract, develop, and retain a workforce profile that reflects the diversity of the region's labor pool. Long Island Railroad also operates its services without regard to race, color, or national origin, and in accordance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Long Island Railroad's executive team recognizes the importance of leveraging diversity in all Long Island Railroad business practices. We are personally committed to diversity and strongly believe in the business case and, and benefits of a diverse workforce. We will continue to seek all opportunities to increase female and minority representation. Between January 1st and December 31st of 2017, Long Island Railroad's workforce increased by 211 employees from 7,163 to 7,374. Total female headcount increased from 1,092 to 1,117. And the percentage of female representation slightly decreased from 15.2 to 15.1. Female percentage of representation met or exceeded 80% of the census availability only in the professionals job category. Total minority headcount and percentage of minority representation increased from 35.5% to 35.8%. Blacks remained below 80% of the census availability in the officials and administrators, technicians, and skilled craft job categories. Hispanics are below 80% of the census availability in the technicians, administrative support, skilled craft, and service maintenance job categories. Asians remain below 80% of the census availability in the technicians, administrative support, skilled craft, and service maintenance job categories. Long Island Railroad continued to attend college and recruitment fairs in the region's 5-county area. 10 events were attended during the second half of the year, including Stony Brook University's Engineering Job and Internship Fair and Manhattan College's STEM Career Fair. To aid veteran recruitment, staff attended the military job fair on September 14th. We also collaborated with the MTA all-agency veterans recruitment and staffing initiatives to distribute job posting to service members. Between July 1st and December 31st, we hired 240 new employees, of which 6% were veterans, 18% were female, which is 3% higher than the current 15% female representation level, and 36% were minority. Total minority headcount and percentage of minority representation continue to trend upwards. During 2017, minority headcount and percentage of representation increased by 99 and 0.03% respectively. We also continue to see good results within the two upward mobility programs outlined at the September meeting. Between July 1st and December 31st, 2 junior engineers were hired, including 1 minority male. 4 project manager trainees were hired, including 1 female. With respect to 2018 diversity initiatives, we will continue efforts to assist the workforce with opportunities for advancements, such as workshops that cover effective resume writing and interview technique. Applicants are also afforded the opportunity to receive constructive feedback on recent interviews. Long Island Railroad staff will continue to work closely with MTA all-agency veterans recruitment and staffing initiatives to reach as many veterans as possible for vacancies. Diversity management and the HR team will continue to look for additional sources in which to post vacancies. Thank you.
And thank you, Pat. And let me also commend you and your staff for being one of the only two agencies who have reached or achieved their goals this year in the Small Business Mentoring Program. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, and I would like to welcome him and looking forward to working with you as we drive effective and efficient change in this area. Annie Byford.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Good morning. Good afternoon. Sorry, everyone. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. You'll notice that when I arrived here 5 weeks ago now, there were 4 things that I said were priorities, and one of them was to drive up the morale and motivation of the 50,000 men and women who work for New York City Transit. And knowing that I will be quoted on that, I chose my words carefully. So the 4 things that I chose deliberately included something around motivation and morale, because for me, you cannot aspire to be world class as a transit authority if you don't bring people with you. And the reason I make that point in this context is you can't bring people with you if either they feel excluded, or if they feel that they've reached some kind of glass ceiling and they can't progress. So to me, the diversity cause is absolutely intricately involved in that big push that we're doing in terms of engagement. And one of the other points that I made was also around accessibility, also of course linked to the diversity cause, because that, it seems to me, is another form of exclusion. If people feel that because of their particular level of mobility or otherwise they're excluded, then that's just plain wrong. That was a deliberate message from me on day one to effectively flag that is going to be a mark of my tenure as president of New York City Transit, and it will be something that I wanted to resonate in the city of New York amongst customers, but also within the workforce, that they know that they've got a champion in me in the diversity and the disability causes. So then the second point, and you'll see it on the slide, was one of our core values, and we've been talking as a team about a reorganization, but particularly with regard to looking at our core values as part of I won't say soon to be released because it's going to take some time to put together, but a corporate plan that will map out what we're going to do over the next 5 years. There's myriad work streams going to be contained within that, including an all-out focus on people and in providing quality people fair, equitable chances to progress within the company, and where any kind of discrimination will be absolutely intolerated, and it will be intolerable, and it will be conversely seen as something that we should all aspire to attend events like this and make diversity a core value. So we are also looking to do some kind of engagement survey. It's something that we did when I was at the TTC, and to include within that engagement survey a section on diversity to see what it is that what's really going on. It would be an anonymous survey. What is impeding people from progressing? What might be going on that we're not aware of below the surface. And then the final point on this, in terms of messaging, a mantra of mine is that we should all think like a customer, and that's deliberately multi-purpose, that as a statement, because if we are to achieve sustained change, we need to think like a customer and deliver what the customers want. But also, the linkage again back to this particular theme is that you need, if you're thinking like a customer, we should reflect the city and the region that we serve, and we're not doing that right now. There's a fair percentage of people from minority backgrounds within New York City Transit, but not at the higher levels, and that's just plain wrong. So I passionately believe that leaders need to set the tone, less by what they say, but more by what they do. And if you'll forgive me, I will use a TTC example. When I turned up at the TTC 6 years ago, Toronto Transit Commission, there had never been a woman on the TTC executive ever in nearly 100 years, which is ridiculous and wrong. So we took positive action to address that, and also took positive action to address people of different sexual orientation representation, and people of colour. And when I left, it wasn't the job wasn't complete, but when I left, the TTC executive looked completely different. It was a 13-person executive, which I headed up. There were 6 men, 6 women, person of colour, person of different sexual orientation. And the key point was that was all done on merit. It wasn't done by some kind of insulting sort of token system or by promoting people beyond their capabilities. It was done on merit and it was done through positive action. So what we did was if there were two candidates of equal merit who could not be split other than by one of them came from an underrepresented group, that person got the position. And by taking that kind of positive action, we were able in just 6 years to completely change the look and feel of the TTC to the point that I would say it's the thing I'm most proud of in my 6-year tenure there, in that the actual prevailing environment and the way we did business was exponentially better as a result of that change. And that change actually resonated down through the management ranks as well. The positive action again was taken in the way that I've described. So I'd like to do something similar here. Again, it would be positive action, but it would be done in the right way. And we should be making a much greater use of the talent pool amongst women, amongst people of colour, amongst people with disabilities and also veterans, for whom I have enormous respect. So on that note, again on merit, I am pleased to announce, I think it was one of my colleagues, Cedric, mentioned that he had I think it was Cedric, with one of you guys said you had an executive joining your team. We have a woman joining my senior team, the soon-to-arrive Chief Customer Officer or Senior Vice President for the customer group will be a lady called Sarah Meyer, and she'll be joining New York City Transit on March the 6th. On to accomplishments from last year, for which I can take no credit because I wasn't here. Lots has happened, and that I give my team absolute credit for under Ronnie's leadership and Daryl and Tim and towards the end of the year, Phil. Various initiatives undertaken, various outreach events, details of which you can see on the board there. And they were deliberate, targeted outreach efforts to target organisations that support hiring people with disabilities and veterans, to open houses were held for skilled trade talent to fill open positions, again with that goal of achieving greater diversity. Towards the second half of the year, 32% of our recruitment outreach targeted women, organisations that supported hiring of people with disabilities and veterans. So it's great, Patricia, I just saw somewhere, yeah. I acknowledge the efforts of our recruitment teams in undertaking that very important work. And in my short time here, I was pleased actually to go to an event just after I got here, where we were celebrating mentoring and the use of diverse pairs to again demonstrate the business benefit that can be accrued from quality people working together, regardless of their background. And I would argue possibly because of their background that it creates a more rich business environment. And finally, a lot of work on disability best practices, establishing relationships with premier research groups, again, drawing on their expertise. So now looking ahead this year, 2018, mid-year key diversity initiatives. Again, you can see them on the board. Establishment of a diversity and advisory council, establishing employee affinity groups, and executive sponsors to connect D&I to the business to make it integral to the way we do things. Use of analytics, developing analytical dashboards to provide management information so that these improvements don't happen by chance, but we can track them and we can make sure that we are addressing the very valid objectives that we've been talking about already in this meeting. And then roll out at the next level of D&I managerial development focused on inclusive behaviour. So again, it all needs to come from the top, and I'm committing myself here, absolutely nailing my colours to that diversity cause. You can hold me to that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And last but not least, Daryl Eyrick.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Malloy and the Diversity Committee. As head of bus operations, I'm strongly committed to the communities that we serve, our employees, and to ensuring that diversity of these groups is respected and valued. In addition to providing safe and reliable customer service, bus operations strive to have a workforce that represents the rich cultural and ethnic diversity of New York City. My team and I work to promote an environment that reflects this commitment in all areas of the organization, from employment to the provisions of services to contract awards. We do this by working closely with our colleagues at New York City Transit and within the community. For 2017, I'm proud to report that bus operations expanded our engagement mentorship programs with area technical high schools, which included matching skilled supervisors with students interested in the same areas of expertise. We engaged 14 students at 5 depot locations. My recruitment team also increased outreach efforts to area technical high schools by promoting the Maintainer's Helper Group B exam to 185 students in diverse communities. Various technical high schools also received a tour of our Zariga training facility, which included a presentation on safety and bus subsystems. We also continued our commitment to hire more veterans by participating in multiple recruitment efforts, including Suffolk and Nassau job fairs and the Veterans on Wall Street Symposium. Our efforts led to 16 veterans hired this reporting period compared to 7 veterans hired during the same period in 2016. In November, bus operations hosted a women's symposium, which included panel discussions featuring 5 women from different levels within the organization. Topics discussed included making the successful transition into management positions and how to grow and strive within the company. Over 70 women attended this event. So moving forward, and in conclusion, we will continue to increase our engagement efforts by hosting spring and summer apprenticeship and mentorship programs. There are 10 participants registered for the spring program so far, and a recruitment for the summer program will begin in March. Bus operations is engaging in our first ever maintenance apprenticeship program set to begin in June of this year. In addition, we will also host a spring event with the Mayor's Office for Peoples with Disabilities to promote disability awareness in the workplace. As always, we will continue to participate in 15 to 20 spring and summer veteran recruiting events and partner with the Department of Education for the annual Today's Girl, Tomorrow's Woman event. Thank you for the opportunity to share some of our successes in this area, and this concludes my report.
And thank you, Darrell. I'm going to turn it back over to Naeem.
Mr. Chairman, if I can go back to the beginning of the agenda, and there are no changes to the work plan. The 2018 work plan is there for your review. As usual, there will be 4 meetings of the diversity committee, and those are listed in the work plan and the reports that will be presented at those various times when the committee will meet.
Thank you. I want to go over real quickly and real briefly DDCR goals for this year. This small business mentoring program, the training program, will begin again in March of next month. We've averaged in about 50 companies every week that come in to learn how to do business here at the MTA, and we use those training classes as a recruitment tool for our small business mentoring program. Also, we are focusing on maximizing the projects that's going to be aligned both in the Small Business Mentoring Program and the Small Business Federal Program. As I indicated at CPOC, I will be meeting with Don Spiro and the agency presidents to make sure that the $146 million in contract awards are going to be realized for this year's Small Business Mentoring Program. Also, we are working with ESD, looking at everything that we buy in order to maximize MWB inclusion, not only at the subcontractor level, but at the prime level. And what that means basically is that we're working with some of the agencies in debundling larger projects into smaller projects, and then actively going out and recruiting our MWDB firms who have bonding to bid on projects as prime contractors. And we're starting to see some great results of our certified firms who had a history of doing subcontract work now winning prime contracts at $7 million, $10 million, $14 million, and $15 million. We also talked about a certified mentor, a protege program with our new subway cars, and those talks are currently ongoing. It is our goal this year to maximize and to reach our goals on the state level of 30%. On the federal level, 18%, and give you a context as to where we were 9 years ago. And we're tracking payments, because goals are one thing, but dollars paid is the most accurate measure. We paid $116 million in 2009 to our state certified firms, which represented 6%. Last year, we were at $387 million, which we were at 24%. For the first 9 months of this year, we are already at $470 million. So I'm anticipating for the first time in the history of this organization that we will be at about $700 million in payments this year to state certified firms. My team and I are not going to rest until we reach $1 billion. And so I'm anticipating over the next year or two that we're going to do what we need to do in order to make sure that $1 billion in payments are paid to our state certified firms. We are also talking to Daryl Irick and his team about a mentor-protege program in the paratransit area. Daryl has a document that he's going to be sharing with me some given point in time this week. And last but not least, this board wanted us to make sure that our MWDBE efforts was not only focused on the city of New York, the 5 boroughs, but also the outside counties as well. And so we're going to be circling back around in the spring, summer, and fall, and going up to those upstate counties, and including Nassau and Suffolk. Thank you. Naeem.
Mr. Chairman, continuing with the executive summary, we continue to attend various outreach events to attract minority and women-owned businesses, as well as other small businesses and service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. Those activities are detailed on page 36 of the book. Additionally, for certification activity report, the full report is on page 39. A total of 123 new applications were received in 2017. And that number is higher when you compare that to the previous 2 years. Additionally, 127 applications for DPE certification were processed. That number, though, is lower from last year's. It is higher from the year before. We're moving on to the EEO report. Currently, as of December 31st, 2017, 74,500 employees overall, of which over 13,000 or 18% are women, and almost 51,000 are minorities. Compared to the end of 2016, the overall percentage of women has increased by 5%, or some almost 700 employees. Overall percentage of minorities has also increased by 4%, or some 2,000 employees. Based on our availability analyses, overall underrepresentation is among women, Asians, African American, and Hispanics, and most of the underutilization is in skillcraft and service maintenance job categories. For the reporting period of 2017, 7,600 employees were hired across the MTA and its agencies. Over 1,800 of them are women, that's 25%. Almost 5,800 or 76% are minorities. And in addition, some 200 or 3% of the new hires are veterans. Women were hired at a higher percentage when compared to their current representation of 18% in the workforce, and minorities were hired at a higher percentage compared to their current representation of 68% in the workforce. This is a snapshot of workforce across agencies and by gender and ethnicity. Actually, I think I might have missed something. I forgot to mention that in addition, the agencies also handled 586 EEO complaints across the agencies, 340 of which were internal and 246 were external. In addition, 404 Title VI complaints were handled across MTA agencies. Now to the Small Business Development Program update.
Okay. Good afternoon, Chairman Malloy. The full report is on page 97. Currently, we have 273 contractors participating in the program. Since the inception of the program, we've had 296 projects totaling $278 million in prime contracts that have been awarded, and 101 loans have been approved totaling $14 million. 86 projects completed with loans. Our bond program, which is geared towards our Tier 2 and federal program, $242 million single and $460 million aggregate surety bonding, respectively, and 73 contracts have been awarded in our Tier 2 and federal program since the inception of the program. Job creation, since inception, an estimated 6,500 jobs were created with small businesses and the MWB and DB community. This concludes my reporting.
And as I indicated at CPOC, that we will be going around to each one of the operating agencies and meeting with the presidents and their respective staffs to make sure that the $145.9 million that we have as a goal this year is going to be realized. The agencies have identified $115 million in projects, which leaves about $30 million that we still need to push. The danger this year, Mr. Chairman, is that there's only been $21 million in contract awards for this year, which means that in 5 months we need to not only open bids but also make awards by July 30th. And that's going to be a challenge, but I'm going to push, or we're going to push, to make sure that $145.9 million is going to be realized for this program year.
For the MWDBE and SDVOB participation in our contracting activities for the federal fiscal year 2017, which ended on September 2017, the overall DBE goal was 17%. As of the start of the new federal fiscal year on October 1st, 2017, that goal slightly increased to 18%. But for the federal fiscal year 2017, $1.5 billion was awarded in federally funded contracts, with the DBE participation of $244 million, or 16%. In terms of payments, $1.4 billion was paid in federally funded contracts, with the DBE participation of $285 million, or 21%. We also have a 30% goal for state-funded or non-federal contracts. And of these, $2.75 billion was awarded for the period April through December 2017, which makes up the 3 quarters of the current state fiscal year. The overall goal being 30%, and in terms of awards, $2.7 billion, of which $413 million, or 15%, went to MWBEs, and in terms of payments, $1.85 billion paid, and the MWB share being 25%, or $478 million. As I have mentioned before, there is a goal for service-disabled veteran-owned businesses, which is 6%. In 2017, such businesses achieved $2.3 million in awards. In payments, of the $3 million, of the $1.8 billion rather paid to prime contractors, the service-disabled businesses achieved $3 million, or 0.17%. The only area, Mr. Chairman, that we have continued to achieve consistently 6% SDVOB participation is in the area of underwriter fees. For discretionary procurements, for procurements which were awarded by the agencies whose value is $400,000 or less, $328.3 million was awarded, with the $62 million, or 19%, going to MWBEs. Additionally, 3%, or $9.5 million, went to small business concerns. For architectural and engineering awards through the discretionary procurement process in 2017, 6 projects awarded, which added up to almost $650,000, and $1.6 million in awards since the inception of this program. For IT discretionary awards for 2017, 194 awards with the $31.5 million value. Since inception of the program, some $50 million has been awarded. in underwriter fees, total amount paid was $34.7 million, and $2.6 million, or 8%, went to MWBE law firms, that's outside counsel, and that percentage has slightly increased, Mr. Chairman, from the last time we reported.
So let me just speak on that for a second. In the areas of legal fees, we had a massive outreach event in which we invited all of our state certified firms in to, with the goal of better integrating them to the people who are issuing these assignments. The last time we met, we were at 6.6%. We are at 8%. It's a far cry from 30%. And so as we move forward, we are going to monitor this on a month-by-month basis to ensure that at the end of the day, next year this time, we won't talk about 8%, but we'll talk about more like 30%. And that's one of the goals this year. Also in the area of A&E, I will be talking to each one of the agencies because they're not using this tool the way that they should. Because if you look at IT, there's been 194 awards totaling $49.9 million. We need to make sure that the agencies are using the vehicles that's been created in order to maximize MBE spend. And so we will be circling back around. Naeem.
Mr. Chairman, we also report on contracts which are closed. So as of January 2018, over 1,100 contracts were closed, with the additional 25 in the process of being closed and 43 contracts which are pending some sort of agency action. We also report on the progress we continue to make in visits performed to the sites where MWDVs are working. For the 13-month period from January 2017 to January 2018, 696 visits were performed. On average, for this time period, the average monthly visits were 53.5. Moving on to capital projects, for construction projects awarded in 2017, $1 billion awarded in federally funded projects, with the DBE participation of $162 million. As I mentioned before, for most of the time period, the goal was 17%. However, that goal was slightly increased as of the start of federal fiscal year, October 1st, 2017. For the state-funded construction projects in the capital program, for the reporting period of 2017, $712 million was awarded, with $92 million or 13% going to MBEs and $70 million or 10% going to WBEs, for a total participation of $162 million or 23%. There was no additional SDVOP participation in this area. So financial services, I believe Mr. Isom is here to make his report.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just to report the information with regards to financial services, from April 2017 to December 2017, there was $15 million awarded in underwriting fees. MBE participation was $3.4 million, which represents 22%. And WB participation was $2.4 million, which is 16%. So overall, there was a total MWB participation from April 2017 to December 2017 was approximately $5.8 million, or 38% of the total awarded $15 million. In addition, there was approximately $920,000, or 6%, was paid to service disabled veteran-owned businesses. That concludes our report.
So let me get this. So 44% of your fees were paid to MW and SDVOB firms?
That's correct.
And that's probably the highest in the state?
I believe it is.
And how does that happen?
Well, it's basically a process of where we actually look at each firm and look at the process that we do and make sure that every time we have a bond transaction that we have minority and women-owned businesses on the transaction and there to complete the actual deals. We make sure that they're just not minority and women-owned businesses. We make sure that they're actually capable of actually completing the transaction and actually fulfilling the goals of the MTA when we actually do bond transactions. So we actually have a systematic approach in actually making sure that firms are on the transactions and that we can complete the transactions meeting the goals that we set out.
So once again, let me commend the leadership of the finance department and the CFO and Pat and you, Pat, because this is like outstanding results. 44% of underwriter fees are being paid to New York State certified MW and SDOV firms. Great job. Great job, Pat.
Thank you.
Next is the Asset Fund Manager's Report. Mr. Crawford will make his presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the MWBE participation within the pension plans. The assets managed by MWBE firms grew by $57 million in the fourth quarter, or 5.2%. Today, that represents $1.1 billion. In total assets under management by MWBE firms, that is 15% of the total assets of the pension plans. The majority of the assets are in traditional asset classes, so equities, fixed income, and the like, where MWBEs represent 21% of our total assets. Most of the assets are actually different than the industry. Most of our MWBE participation are in equity asset classes, so it's in the higher fee-paying, higher performing asset classes where we actually have the highest percentage of participation. We had a very, very busy year in meeting with MWBE firms, held over 70 meetings, did a lot of outreach to the community. We attended some really interesting events. I attended a mentoring event with the Association of Asian American Investment Managers. I attended a very, very fantastic event, the 100 Women in Finance, women-owned hedge funds that were just launching. So another kind of a mentoring event. And then, of course, the New York State MWBE Forum. And from my view, if we can meet 2 or 3 really talented, exciting new firms at these events, then it's time well spent. That concludes my remarks.
So Sean, once again, let me commend you for your leadership, because you're not just sitting in your office and looking at things happen, but you're getting out and you're making things happen, and it shows in your results. So I'll thank you for your leadership.
No, thank you. I mean, but it's from my perspective, diversity and diversification go hand in hand. So it's just how we should be investing, plain and simple.
Great, thank you.
This concludes our report, Mr. Chairman.
Let me just say also, I want to thank HR and Anita Miller, because we were 7 heads down, and we're getting some new heads, so we can continue to stay on track to improve. We've come a very, very long way, but I am not happy or satisfied, and we're not happy and satisfied as to where we are right now, because the goal here is to make this organization the best MWDB program in the nation. And we are headed towards that. And I want to just thank my staff, because they work hard. They work nights, weekends, and holidays. And I'm leaving here sometimes at 7, 8 o'clock, and I still have staff here working. So I want to commend them. And I want to also commend my staff for being at the Black and Puerto Rican Caucus this past weekend. We spoke before a business lunch on Friday, and we spoke on 3 panels on Saturday. And we made some very, very, very great contacts in Albany. So thanks to my staff, the MTA is still going your way. Thank you.